Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Dreamerspro Daily Recap, where we give you a recap of all of the hot topics that we covered that day. You can catch them in their long format and also catch it fully streaming for free on Apple Podcasts. The NBA just recently landed a new TV, just basically finished negotiating new TV deals with networks like ABC, ESPN, and I think Amazon to the tune of $7+ billion per annum over the next 10 years, which means that the NBA just landed a $76 billion deal over the next 10 years. And in the midst of all of that celebration, there was one particular network and compilation of analysts that were very, very angry that they were not able to renew. And that crew was TNT's inside the NBA and Warner and Turner. They weren't able to renegotiate a new deal, and Charles Barkley and others came out and expressed their displeasure with that news. Right? They basically said that they're not happy about it. How could we lose? How could we not come up with with the appropriate amount of money to go out there and ensure that we still hold on to the NBA? And basically, what ABC did, they just outbidded them. They were willing to pay them $2.6 billion over, I think, per annum. And I think the current deal that TNT was on was 1.2. And if they wanted to remain competitive, they had to match that offer. And they did not. So what happened yesterday, Mitch, who works with us, sent me a bit of news, which I was a bit surprised about, which was basically centering around some reports that Turner, TNT, and these guys were actually looking to negotiate a new deal even after the fact that ESPN, I think, committed $2 billion plus. ABC committed another $2 billion. And And Amazon committed, I think, $1.8 billion or something around that, something close to that number, or $2 billion or something like that. So I want to read from various sources here today. Let me start off with this article that we're getting from Front Office Sports. And it starts off with the headline, buzzer beater. TNT is negotiating for fourth NBA rights package. Continues on. Get ready for another plot twist in the multi-billion-dollar NBA rights negotiations. Warner Brothers Discovery is in negotiations to secure a possible fourth media rights package. Sources with knowledge of the negotiations tell Front Office Sports. Speculation in recent months has TNT being elbowed out of the NBA TV/streaming game in favor of three rights partners: incumbent ESPN, former TV partner NBC, and Amazon Prime Video. That could still happen, but it's not over until it's over. Sources tell me TNT is still at the table for a smaller, less expensive fourth package that could include regular season and some playoff games. Another scenario for the NBA to slice off a package of locally televised games from teams and turn them into national televised games for TNT, according to Puck. Carving out a smaller package for TNT could be a savvy, face-saving strategy for both the association and WBD. From the NBA's perspective, it could maintain the former TNT Sports iconic 40-year relationship with the NBA. Does the NBA want to completely cut ties with a media partner that's done such an exemplary job for decades? TNT also operates NBA TV and NBA.com on the behalf of the league. Unwinding that relationship would be a messy and expensive undertaking. In today's hyper-competitive market for live sports rights, doubling the number of NBA partners to 4 would be significant. Just ask the NFL, which keeps adding new partners like Netflix and Amazon. Sports media consultant Jim Wilson notes a fourth package would enable the NBA to televise/stream its games across Disney's ABC, ESPN, and ESPN Plus, NBC Universal, NBC USA, Peacock, and Warner Brothers TNT/Max. It's the perfect solution. They have the inventory to do it, and it's yet another billion-dollar deal, Williams says. I have no idea why they haven't done it already. It makes all the sense in the world. Additionally, for TNT, a smaller, cheaper package could ensure the survival of Charles Barkley's Emmy-winning Inside the NBA studio. The 61-year-old Barkley says he wants to work less anyway. He's been increasingly critical about the lack of direction from his bosses in TNT. And then the article goes on to say one or two other things there that you guys can definitely check out. So this is pretty big news. It's pretty big news if I'm being honest with you. It shows you that, for whatever we may think, the NBA has found a way to garner interest from these big networks, right? And good for them, because now they found a way to triple their revenue. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the former deal they were under was a $25 billion deal. Now they've gone from $25 billion to $75 billion. At the time when we were looking at NBA ratings and all of that, some of us were a bit skeptical on whether or not the NBA would be able to go out there and get another sizable contract, and in this case, 3x their revenue. But it looks like that's exactly what they did. In the case of TNT, these guys, it looks like they heard what their talent said. I mean, Charles Barkley was publicly displeased with the fact that they were going to be losing the NBA, right? So to me, I think the deal makes sense. Obviously, the NBA is going to gain more, get more money coming into their coffers. And these players are going to be making more money. The owners are going to be making more money. And it looks like this league is just going to continue to be more lucrative and lucrative. And I think in the near future, you're going to be seeing contracts upwards of $400 to $500 million. Luka Doncic, who's currently in the NBA Finals, is slated to sign a $350 million max deal. And I think in the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see contracts even bigger than that. So kudos to them. And I think that TNT definitely wants to remain competitive. So what I want to know from the audience is, for those of you who are wondering what the hell this apparatus is around my finger, I just had a procedure done on my hand where they had to cut my finger. It's extremely painful. I'm not going to go into the details, but I said I'm going to show up and do what we got to do anyway. So what I want to know from you guys, what do you think about this news? Are you happy about it? Are you excited about TNT possibly returning to the table and them continuing inside the NBA? Or, were you starving for something different? For me personally, I think Inside the NBA was probably the best show that covers the NBA just because of the ensemble cast that they have of Ernie, Kenny Smith, Shaquille O'Neal, and Charles Barkley. I think they're the best cast that they have right now talking about the NBA, especially with Charles Barkley and Shaq. A lot of these guys have these genuine arguments, which I think is just highly, highly entertaining. So when I heard that they were possibly going to lose that show, I was very, very disappointed. But then again, I was also open to an alternative. But now to hear that there's a possibility that they could maintain them in some way, shape, or form, that's pretty good news. Now, how they're going to do it, I don't know, because I remember the previous deal that I read, ESPN and all these other companies, they pretty much gobble up all of the important games, like the finals games, the playoff games, certain games like marquee games on big nights. So these big games on these marquee games on the calendar, like Christmas Day games and all of that. So we're going to have to see. But as it stands now, according to Front Office Sports, it looks like there's still a glimmer of hope. So yesterday, there was a very, very big game in the NBA. Obviously, it was game one of the NBA Finals. Going into this series, I thought it was going to be a very competitive series. I forgot who I picked. I think I picked Dallas to win this series in 6. I could be wrong, but I think that's what I picked. That was my prediction. But after watching yesterday's game, it kind of it surprised a lot of us, right? Because yesterday, the Dallas Mavericks just got beat the hell down. They ended up losing that game 107-89, and the only real bright spot for the Dallas Mavericks was Luka Doncic. He scored 30 points, had 10 rebounds, but he only had 1 assist, right? So he didn't really, he played right into the hands of the Boston Celtics defensive strategy. But one of the other players that didn't play well was Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie Irving, according to a stat that I saw this morning, I think is now 0-11 over his last 11 visits to Boston playing against the Celtics. Last night, he scored 12 points on 6 of 19 shooting 31.6% from the field, 0% from the 3, 0% from the free throw line because he didn't attempt any free throws, and he got 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 turnovers. I think at one point during the game, I heard that the Dallas Mavericks had the Boston Celtics had more blocks than assists to the Dallas Mavericks. The Boston Celtics finished that game yesterday. Let me see how many blocks they had. They had 9 blocks to the Mavs. 9 assists. That is a crazy statistic. But something interesting happened prior to tip-off. And that was on ESPN First Take, where they were prepping for, they're kind of gearing up for game 1 of the NBA Finals. And they were talking to the panel. I think Kendrick Perkins was there, and of course Stephen A. Smith was there. And they were discussing Kyrie Irving. And Stephen A. Smith decided to take a position that I just did not understand. But essentially what he said is that the Boston Celtics should viciously boo Kyrie Irving for the way that he departed out of Boston. And I'm listening to Stephen A. Smith. I'm like, bro, what are we doing right now? So what we want to do now is want to play exactly what Stephen A. Smith had to say yesterday on ESPN First Take, and we're going to come back and react to his comments. Take a listen to Stephen A. Smith here.
We know those Boston fans go hard. Kyrie 0-10 against the Celtics. Stephen A., what do you think the reception should be from Boston tonight? How should they treat Kyrie?
I think it should be vicious. I don't have a problem saying that. I mean, vicious, but obviously within reason. Don't do anything physical or stupid or whatever.
Yeah.
They should boo the hell out of him. They shouldn't like him. They should want to despise him because he was a star. His first season, they averaged 24 and 5 in the 60 games he played for them. Yeah. His exact quote to them is, "If you guys will have me back, I plan on resigning here next summer," and then infamously departed to go to Brooklyn. Okay, you're the Boston Celtics. You're one of the most storied franchises in basketball annals. And then you obviously see the history that he has with them thereafter in terms of stomping on the leprechaun and all of this other stuff. But what I'm saying is that I'm speaking purely in basketball context. They shouldn't like a thing about him because he is starring for someone other than them. It's a form of respect to be indifferent and silent and melancholy or whatever it is about him. Isn't giving him the respect his greatness demands. That greatness of Kyrie Irving is supposed to be in a Boston Celtics uniform. And if you're the Boston Celtics, you should resent the fact that he's doing it for somebody else and want to do everything you can to beat him.
So you heard what Stephen A. Smith had to say there. Let me tell you something interesting that happened yesterday. Yesterday, I came across a show from Too Raw for TV. Right? Y'all know Too Raw is. Check him out, man. You putting up some great content. So I came across a video of his. And the video was titled, "No Good Deed Goes Unpunished." And he was talking about Stephen A. Smith and all of the backlash that he's been receiving over the past week or so. And he was talking about how people are saying that he could have done more for the WNBA and all of that. And he was basically acknowledging the fact that Stephen A. Smith had been doing things for women in sports and, promoting female analysts and all of that, right? But he said something interesting, which was, he said he doesn't feel bad for Stephen A. Smith. He said that this could be karma. And he went on to basically describe all of the various things that Stephen A. Smith has done over the years to piss off various groups, like the comments he made about the Nigerian players, the Shohei Ohtani comments, and on and on and on. One example after the Max Kellerman situation, and one thing after the other. And as I was sitting back listening to Stephen A. Smith in that soundbite, I couldn't help but hark back to the words of Too Raw, and I'm saying to myself, why would you put this type of energy in the air? Why would you encourage a fan base to viciously boo Kyrie Irving? Why? Now, granted, it didn't work out between himself and the Boston Celtics, right? It didn't work out. But to encourage them to do that, I didn't understand how that adds anything to a critical analysis of a game 1 of an NBA Finals. That just basically had nothing to do with basketball. And I can't think of any scenario in which I would include in my analysis of any particular game and say, hey, you know what? These fans need to boo this particular player. Now, when LeBron left Cleveland for the first time and he came back, they booed the hell out of him. They booed the hell out of him. But it wasn't something that, although we weren't covering sports, it wasn't something that I was like, oh yeah, man, they really need to do that. No, it's something that we all expected to happen, and it did, by the way. But it wasn't something that I was like, y'all better make sure y'all boo him for the way you left. I'm like, why would I do that? Why would I need to do that? They're going to do that anyway. So why would I put that energy in the air? I just didn't understand why he wants Boston fans to do that to Kyrie. I just really can't understand why. And I think moments like this are reasons why people don't feel any sympathy towards Stephen A. So this is just what my personal view is on this thing. I had forgotten. You see, what had happened is I'd forgotten that people were pissed off at Stephen A. Yeah, I even forgot that at times I was pissed off at Stephen A. Smith. Again, if you guys are seeing this on my hand, just had a procedure where they had to slice and dice my finger. I'm not going to get into it. It's painful as hell, so don't mind this. That's just some of the disinfectant and all that, so just ignore that. It'll be healing soon by the grace of God. But anyway, you know, I was just like, bro, why are you saying this? But once again, you know, that's another Stephen A. Smith special. You know, he doesn't see the guy he just doesn't cease. He never ceases to amaze me. Go out there and viciously boo. I'm like, why are you promoting this? Like, why are you promoting these fans? I don't understand. But anyway. As you guys know, there's been this trend in media as of late where people have been getting at Skip Bayless, right? Basically, everybody's saying Skip is done and all of that stuff, especially after the departure of Shannon Sharpe and seeing the effect that it's had on the ratings of Undisputed and the bump that ESPN First Take has had and how big Shannon Sharpe has gone on to be in his own right. But nevertheless, that hasn't stopped Skip Bayless from taking very strong positions, right? But in this particular case, he's now coming up against an adversary that has no fear and has no problem with getting his hands dirty, and that person is Draymond Green. And recently, Skip Bayless did a show, right? Because we're going to talk about what Draymond said, but he did a show on the Skip Bayless show where he was basically taking Draymond Green to task, and he systematically broke down Draymond Green, not only as an NBA player in terms of his career, but in terms of a person, for some of the dirty stuff that he does. And he actually went on to call Draymond Green the dirtiest player in the history of the NBA. So what we want to do now is want to play exactly what Skip Bayless had to say about Draymond Green on the Skip Bayless show, and then we're going to come back and play what Draymond had to say in response and then react to what these guys are saying. Take a listen to what Skip had to say originally here.
Now, here's the astonishing truth about Draymond Green. In my career, I have never seen anything like this phenomenon. Draymond Green is, no exaggeration, the dirtiest player in NBA history by far. The dirtiest player in NBA history by far is Draymond Green. I dare you, right here, right now, well, please stay with me for a few more minutes, but I dare you to go on YouTube, call up and watch those low-light tapes of the cavalcade of Draymond Green's dirtiest plays over the years. His dirtiest plays, just boom, 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 boom. Just get the magnitude, the overall impact of the cavalcade of Draymond's dirtiest plays over the years. The cheap shots, the low blows, the dangerous plays. Draymond is the all-time cheap shot artist. Yet, everybody loves Draymond. Not Raymond, Draymond. Everybody loves Draymond. Somehow, his perception is his reality. I've seen that happen before. The perception of Draymond is he's such a nice guy. He's so fun. He's funny. He's glib. He's witty. He's loquacious. He's just so entertaining, that Draymond. No, the truth is, Draymond Green is just a great actor. at his core, deepest down, he's always been a dirty basketball player with one or maybe two screws loose. Since he entered the league, Draymond Green has been ejected a league high 20 times. 20 times. He's been called for technical fouls 151 times. That's barely second to Russell Westbrook at 153. So it's 151 to 153 in the time they've been together in the league. This is the same Draymond, that great teammate that's Draymond, who sucker punched, of course, his teammate Jordan Poole during practice. We got to see the tape. Somebody released that tape because somebody wanted Draymond outed. Somebody inside the Golden State Warriors organization wanted the world to see the real Draymond Green. That happened. Draymond is such a nice guy. No, he isn't. Draymond is, so many people think, such a great player. He's such a great player. He's such a crucial part of that Golden State Warriors dynasty. He's Hall of Fame bound. Well, here are Draymond's career numbers. He's averaged 9 points and 7 rebounds and 6 assists. The 7 and 6 are pretty good, but he shot 32% for his career from 3. That's pretty bad. And 71% from the free throw line. That's pretty bad. So if I submitted to you a blind resume of these numbers, 9, 7, and 6, 32% from 3, 71% from the free throw line, and I said, is this a Hall of Famer? You would laugh out loud in my face.
So you heard what Skip Bayless had to say originally. Well, Draymond Green, of course, heard what these NBA players are like rappers, man. They don't let no diss go by, man. They always listening. So Draymond Green hears what Skip Bayless says, and he essentially goes on his show and he just starts taking these below the belt shots at Skip Bayless. And I was like, bro, this is a bit much. So for those of you who didn't hear what Draymond had to say in response to Skip, we're going to play that now and then come back and give you guys our thoughts. Take a listen to Draymond Green here.
Everybody skipping past Skip Bayless since Shannon left him, and he comes out and says he'll have me eating out of the palm of his hands. I am not coming on your show, Skip. I'm going to keep skipping past you just like everybody else skipped on you, because that show is dead. No one wants to hear you talk anymore. In the words of Richard Sherman, I am better than you. I'm better than you at life. I am just better than you. Skip and skip. That's a wrap from this episode of the Draymond Green Show. Skip, you ain't never had one of these. One of these. Or any of these. Let's see. What's that? That's our NBA second team. Oh. What's that? Our NBA defensive first team. Yeah, Skip. We don't respect you. You need more people. It's a wrap.
So you heard what Skip and Draymond had to say to one another. Let's start with Draymond. Draymond took the Richard Sherman line by basically saying, I'm better at life than you. And I think I'm going to call cap on that. I don't believe that Draymond Green is better at life than Skip Bayless. Because I believe the metric Draymond is using is money. And I don't think that's the only measurement of a person and how successful you are as a human being. There are people that are, I mean, look at Puff Daddy. Puff Daddy richer than both of them. But he clearly has some character flaws, right? So we're not just going to leave it to money. That's a very simplistic and, dare I say, childish way of viewing adults. The fact is, Skip Bayless is way more successful at what he does than Draymond Green is than what he does. Skip Bayless is one of the greatest people, analysts or whatever, to do what he did in his field. Then Draymond Green is one of the greatest players to ever play in the NBA. If Skip Bayless was an NBA player in terms of analysts, he would be in the top 10. Draymond Green would not be in the top 50. So from that standpoint, he is not better at him than like in that standpoint. From that standpoint. Secondly, I feel like Draymond said that because he had nothing else. He couldn't refute anything of what Skip Bayless was saying. So he decided to take that below the belt shot. Right. And I think that a lot of guys tend to do this where they now, when they don't have anything to say, they tend to just, well, I got more money than you. Right. I got more money than you. The fact is, Draymond Green has more money than Skip Bayless, not because he's a better person, not because he's a smarter person or anything like that. It's just because of the profession that he went into. They're people that Wall Street bankers, hedge fund managers that make way more than Draymond Green. Some of those guys make like $1 billion in a year. So what does that mean? They're better than you just because they made $1 billion? It's just a profession. There's certain professions you go in where you're going to earn more and others where you earn less. Doesn't mean you're better than the next person. It doesn't. So I thought that was lame as hell for Draymond to say that. In the case of Skip, I think Skip made more real points because he spoke to concrete evidence that we have, situations that have occurred, and said, bro, look at this, look at that, look at this, look at that, look at this, look at that. So I think Skip Bayless won this easily. And I think Draymond took the easy route by just basically saying I'm more successful in life successful at life than you, and that's cap. Because you're not just going to distill it down to who has the most money. That doesn't, it's part of it. Yes, money plays a role. Yes, it does play a role, but it's not the ultimate deciding factor. Like, let's cut that out. Like, please, let's just cut that out. You know, it's like saying, it's like a very, very beautiful woman that says, I deserve this and this and that. But somebody's like, but you don't have any character. The character plays a role too, the type of person you are, how you treat people, and all those things all matter. All of that makes a person beautiful. All of those things makes a man handsome or attractive, right? Are you a generous person? Are you a caring person? Are you a thoughtful person? Do you listen to others? Do you just dismiss people because whatever they're saying is stupid because you have more money than? It is much broader than that. So Draymond Green's explanation I thought was childish, like most of the explanations that he normally has for the stuff that he does.